Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Hess. My official title right now is Application Developer, AI Lead, but if you wanted to know more about my past, I started off in SharePoint all the way back I think I had started with SharePoint 2010 and 2013. And so today, I wanted to show you how to hide things in SharePoint. I'm not gonna go into the pro code dev way yet. If I get a lot of comments and people are like, I have to see how you hide everything, we can do that. But let me just show you an example. All right, so I have a very basic out-of-the-box SharePoint site. I have a couple buttons on here. This one takes me to a SharePoint page, a custom page, and this one takes me to an example list, right? So if I add an app that I have customly written, I can come in here, add an app, and I can add my app that I wrote in SharePoint Framework, and we can go back to my SharePoint site. And now you can see that everything is hidden, except for maybe comments is here. We can hide comments out of the box. We have following. I'm gonna show you how to hide those parts also, but everything else is hidden. And let me just prove to you. This is my SharePoint site, myspquestions.sharepoint.com. This is my SharePoint site. I've hidden everything. We just have a nice blank sheet of paper. We have the title, we have follow, and we have comments on if we want to. It's very possible. And we can go to lists and you can see that I have hidden the list parts up here. We can hide all of these buttons if we want to. I'm going to show you how to do that today, how to hide all of these buttons. We'll go through each one by one. You can go to the SharePoint page that we created. This is a SharePoint page. And you can see we just have the page title, the site collection title, and we have my name. And then we could have some content in here if we wanted to. So it's very possible to hide everything in SharePoint. And you don't want this to be detrimental to your SharePoint site. If something becomes visible, the whole world's going to end, right? You don't want that to happen. This is hiding by obscurity to make people happy. That's the way I'm going to say it. This is to make people happy, to make your customers happy, to make yourself happy. And I'm not sure Microsoft will recommend everything that I'm telling you to do. But let's get into it and let's hide a lot of the functionality in SharePoint today. And if I get some comments to show you how to hide everything and do it in pro code, we can go into that too, and we can start hiding everything in SharePoint. It's a wonderful learning exercise. That's why I'm teaching you this. It's to learn. And it's great to learn how to do this. So let's get into it. Let's start with a brand new SharePoint site. So I have a brand new SharePoint site. I've called it brand new. Let's start with the simple things. Now, first off, the left side navigation. We can hide all of the left side navigation, or we can come in here and hide pieces of it and just remove, and we can remove conversations. Now, this is not deleting anything. This is hiding it from the left side navigation. So if we go to the recycle bin, there's nothing in the recycle bin. We're not deleting anything yet, right? So we're just hiding some of the links on the left side navigation. Now, if we want to hide all of the links on the left side navigation, then what we can do is there's a few ways to do this. Let's go to the gear icon, change the look, and this is in modern SharePoint. And under navigation, we can turn off the left side navigation. So you can easily turn that off. Now, there's multiple ways to do that, but that's just the easy way to do it right now in modern SharePoint. Another thing that people request is to, is to start hiding some of the header up here. So in the header, you can easily hide the site title. Now to hide the logo, the easy way to do this is to upload a transparent image to a SharePoint site. Now, once again, this is hiding by obscurity. The logo is still here. So if we're on another page, Documents, and you hover over the logo, you can still navigate back to home. So the hand icon does change. The logo is still there. And we also want to hide the site title. So now we have no site title, no logo. We can actually make it thinner. So the header can actually become thinner and do minimal. So we have more space. And so now we have a nice clean header at the top. Another thing that people like to do, and sometimes You may have comments down here at the bottom. So let me move me. So you may have comments down here at the bottom, right? And so you can do edit, and at the very bottom, you can just turn comments off. So I'm going to remove some of this. So I'm going to get rid of some of these web parts. I feel like there's too much on the screen. All right, and I'm just going to republish. So now we have more of a blank website. And we have a blank website. We have some quick links on the right side. We have minimized our navigation. Let's go ahead and hide that again. So site, change the look, navigation, turn navigation off. And now we have navigation off. Now, if you did turn off navigation, maybe what you want to do is you want to create your own buttons at the top here, right? So maybe you have 3 columns. Each of these have their own buttons, or maybe even a hero web part. But let's just go ahead and do some buttons just quickly and put in our document library in here. So now it does go to somewhere, and you have your other buttons in there too. You can design your SharePoint site as you'd like. So now when I go to change the look, I no longer have their site navigation. I have designed my own navigation in documents, right? So I can do that. Another thing that I have figured out that people like to hide is actually the following button. And because we have a minimized site title, you don't really see that. But if we come back and turn that on, change the look, and we go back to header and we do the standard header, you probably will see that follow button, right? So you see this follow button. I have had people request, hey, I don't want people to be able to follow this site. I don't want it to show up. So what you can do is you can come to the gear icon, site information, view all site settings, manage site features. So you see that right here, manage site features. We can then, following content, deactivate this feature. So once again, do this in a dev environment first. Don't do this in a production environment. The functionality, just kind of check things out. It is going to give you a warning. Hey, you're deactivating this. User customizations. Don't do this on like some giant site, but you can deactivate the follow feature. And now when we come back to our SharePoint site, you will no longer see the follow button up here in the top right. So that star with follow is now missing. Okay, so we did a few of those. Let's create a SharePoint list. So let's create a new list, a blank list, and hide my list. That's what we'll call it. So we have a nice SharePoint list here. We still have our title up here. So let's create some columns. I just want some columns in here. Where are, and another one, let's do you. So we have a few columns in here. Let's add something. Let's do the quick launch, edit, title 1, title, not here anymore. And then I can just exit grid view, and that wrote, and we missed one, anymore. We got to let it save. Okay. So now we have a nice SharePoint list. We have some fields in here. If you want to hide some columns, there's a couple different ways to do this. Add column, show or hide columns, right? So show or hide columns. And we can hide different columns or add some of the out-of-the-box columns if we wanted to too. So we can show ID. So now we've replaced the U with ID. We can drag ID over. We can bring it back. So we can come back and do show columns and bring back U, right? So then we have hidden that column. Now there's another way to do this, and that's to go to Settings, List Settings, and down here in the bottom you have your view. In my opinion, and definitely if you're new to these concepts, do not edit all items. Stay away from editing all items. Don't try and delete title. These are tips for SharePoint developers. Don't delete title. Don't try and delete anything out of the box. Let's just create a new view. And we're going to start from an existing view, right? So we're going to start from an existing view, all items. And we're going to create a new one called hide my U column. We're going to create a new view called hide my U column. And display, we'll just remove it from the display and click OK. Right, so now we have a new view and the U column is now hidden. That's just another way to do it. You can easily come back in here, show hide columns, and add the column back, right? Now, what about the form? In the form, I want to hide columns. Now, once again, there's a few different ways to do this. There's the new modern way to do this, and then there's the old school way to do it. And right now, right here, we have an edit form button. And we can edit columns and hide a field from the form. So it's still here in our data, right? So we still see it in our data. We still see the U column. But when we come to the form, we've now hidden that field from the form. And so then that comes to the next question. People are like, but oh no, the edit in grid view button is still there. People can still come in here and they can edit in grid view. It's the end of the world. You can easily remove this also. So once again, in our gear icon, list settings, advanced settings, there is a feature or an option, and it is right here, quick property editing. Specify whether quick edit and the details panes can be used. Change that to no. Click OK. Go back to our list and you can now see the quick edit button is now gone. So no one can add items to that column anymore. Column is only updated through Power Automate. That's a good example. This column is only updated through Power Automate. You don't want people touching that column. You don't want people editing it. It's only updated through a workflow that runs in the background at 8 a.m. and updates that column. You can no longer edit it. So that's another way to do that, is to remove the quick edit button. Now, more options in the advanced features there. Let's take a look at a view. Now you see here we have attachments on a new form, right? So we have attachments on a new form. In here, if we go to edit columns, you're not going to see attachments. So let me add you back. You're not going to see attachments. But in the gear icon, under list settings, advanced settings, you can easily disable attachments. Right? So you can disable attachments. Now, pay attention to this warning up here. This warning says if you have attachments, you're going to lose them all. Be very careful. Once again, do not do this in production first. Okay. Click OK. All of the attachments will be deleted if you had any attachments in this list. So now on add a new item, you no longer see the attachments option. Now another thing that I have requested for people to remove, and people don't like change, they don't like new things, but I mean, it's a really good feature. Right here is a comments section. So you can say, hey, this looks really good. Right, so they have comments on the right side, but I've had people request, hey, this is taking up the space in my form, remove comments. I'm not going to read them anyways. Remove comments. So once again, in the gear icon, list settings, advanced settings again, you can then allow comments on the list. You can click no and remove comments. And then you would just click OK. And now on list items, you no longer will see the comments feature. Now, if you noticed that when we turned off quick edit, you can no longer just type in here and do the quick edit. You actually have to do an extra click to show or change, make an edit. So that is one downside. Pay attention to that. Now, when you open up an edit field, you have to click on the edit all button, right? So now notice this, watch this. When I click on one, you can do copy link. And if you paste in that link, you will then see everything is in the same mode. It's just on a larger page. But now watch this. When I hit the Edit All button, the link actually changes. Let me show this again. So let's do cancel. You can see the link up here, right? ID equals number 1 or question mark ID equal 1. You can click Edit All and the link actually changes. So you can actually take this link, take that link, and then you can paste it in somewhere. Maybe and they don't have to click that extra edit button. So maybe you go to your home site, on your home site, on my brand new site. If we go back to home, on one of our buttons, we can then configure our button, right? So if we configure our button, we can go add to form. We have a new button here, add to form. You click on the button, it automatically goes to that edit on the form. So that's a nice, another little trick, right? All right, so I'm gonna turn back on my navigation on the left side just because it makes it easier for me to do this demo. So once again, it's good to go over things over and over. Change the look, navigation. We're gonna allow the left side navigation to appear. Give it a refresh. Now we have our left side navigation. Hide my list. All right, we're back to hide my list. Let me show you another thing. If you have a required field, so let's see if we can do this. In settings, list settings, the field where is now going to become required. Right? The field where is now required. We come back into it. If you do add new item and you try to edit the form, you can no longer unhide the where field. And it tells you this, right? It says that select a column to show or hide. Required columns and columns with conditional formulas can't be hidden. Untrue, untrue. They can be hidden. I promise you, you can still hide them. All right, so this is where I'm talking about how Microsoft makes changes, right? If you've been paying attention to the changes in Microsoft, they've added a new Forms button. So there's a new Forms button here. Some people request to remove it. Some people don't. But we're going to change it per view. So let's go to Hide My Column View. We're on Hide My Column View. And let's do Format Current View. And we're going to start hiding the buttons across the top, each one. We're going to start hiding them. And what we're going to do this is we're going to write JSON. And now I'm going to click on, let me move me since we're over here. Now I'm going to click on Advanced Mode. All right, so let me just open this up here, make sure we have lots of space. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a comma. So I'm putting a comma after the schema. And after that, I'm going to type in double quotes, command, bar, props. Now, everything is case sensitive. When I write a capital letter, you need to write a capital letter. So it is case sensitive. And after that, we're going to do a colon and then a squiggly bracket. And then we're going to press enter. And inside here, we're going to do commands. And we're going to do a colon. And I believe this is now a square bracket. It kind of gives you the IntelliSense too. Check that out. It gives us the IntelliSense. And inside commands, we're going to start with a squiggly bracket again. And we're going to do key. And we're going to start. Oh, look at this. Look at this. It's giving us everything wonderful. A list of everything that we can hide. Can I make this any more easy for you? I won't take credit. Actually, can Microsoft make this any more easy for you? So we can start with new. And what are we going to do? We're going to hide it and turn it to true. And we're going to press preview. We've now hidden the new button. Uh-oh. Look at that. Let's do some more. And notice the comma in there. Once again, we're going to do a key. Use the IntelliSense. What about share? I don't want people to be able to share. Comma, hide, true. Look at this. Today, you guys are becoming professional developers. We're making this so easy for you. Another comma. Oh wait, before we do that, let's preview. Okay, we removed the share button. Next, comma, squiggly brackets, key. What do we want to hide next? The export button. I don't want people to export. And you can even do inside each one, right? You can do export in CSV. So if we wanted to just say, okay, we don't want you to export. Let's see if we can get the IntelliSense. The export in CSV. We no longer want people to export in CSV. They can export to Excel if they want. But we're not going to let them export to CSV. Preview. Export to CSV is now gone. Export to Excel. Let's remove that one. Boom. Export to Excel is now gone. We can now export CSV to schema, export to Power BI. But now let's remove all of it. Now, I don't want people to be able to export at all. Right? You no longer can export in our site. I'm sorry. You cannot export. Now the next button, then this new one, this came as a request, right? Forms. I don't know why people want to get rid of the forms. I really like forms. This one is spelled a little different. So it's manage, and look at this. Okay, they got you. They got us. This one is not in the IntelliSense yet. So manage forms. That's my little trick for you today. This one was not in the IntelliSense. And this is where Microsoft doesn't recommend you always hiding things, right? They may make changes and they may add a new button. They may add a new forms button. And the documentation is going to be hidden somewhere about how to hide that. But now I've just taught you, you can now hide that forms button. Let's keep going. Now is the automate button. Key. Automate. I no longer want people to be able to create Power Automates from this form. True. Now the Power Automate button is now hidden. Let's keep going. Just a few more to go. Key. The integrate button. I don't want people to be able to see the integrate button. There you go. Now we still have more in here. We have alert me, and manage my alerts. Let's keep going. I don't want people to create alerts. I don't want anybody to see that bar up there. I'll let them undo if they want. So key, alert me, hide, true. All right. So now the alert me is gone. We got one more to go. Manage my alerts. Key. And that is manage alerts. Hide. True. All right, we've now hid all of those buttons. And I'm just going to take this if I want to and hit save. So now notice that we hid them, right? But on all items, they're still visible. We can easily format this view also. Advanced, paste in our JSON. Those buttons are now gone. So that's per view. So based on the view, you are now hiding different buttons. And another thing that Microsoft added recently is this button here. And this takes you to immersive mode or lists. So it's kind of nice. And so list also inherits that JSON that you wrote in there. And just to add a little bit more, notice in the URL, actually right here, we'll notice this section right here, and environment equals web list view. That is the link to Microsoft List for all of your SharePoint lists. So all the modern SharePoint lists can now be opened up in lists, and you can easily go back. You open in site and it will bring you back to the site. So you can do it that way, or you can actually change the URL up here and just remove that, and then you're back to your SharePoint site. Now that we went through all of that, let me just give you one more that commonly happens is people are kind of going towards metadata. Sometimes people don't like metadata. Sometimes people like document folders. But in a folder library, or in a library, I'll just call it folder library, you can see that you can create a folder, right? So you can create a folder, yellow folder, you can create folders. Another common request that I have is, hey, don't let people create folders anymore, right? So we can go to library settings, more library settings, and advanced settings. In here, we have the option to make new folder command available. We can turn that off and then click OK. And now when you go to the folder library, people can no longer create the folders. Now, in this document library, and let me move me again, you also have the edit new menu. So we could have done that here, and we can hide different things. So we only want people to do Visio I'm in the way again. Hold on. Let me move me again. We only want people to do Visio documents and agents. That's really new, actually, agents here. I actually haven't seen that. That's the first time I've seen that. So you can create agents. Really cool. Oh, I'm excited now. So once again, we have all these buttons up here, right? We can do the same thing. Don't think that you can't do the same thing. You can. So just get the beginning of your formula. And so things like upload, right? So we can find upload in here. We don't want people to click on the upload button. Maybe something else. Maybe, I feel like upload is important. How about sync? We don't want people syncing anymore. So hide is now true. And let's see, we need to end our brackets, end our squiggly. Maybe one more squiggly, I think. There we go. Now we can preview. And now that sync button has now disappeared from your document library. Let me just give one more little tip that some people like to do. Instead of the command bar prompts, right, we're going to remove all of this. Let's see here. What we're going to do is we have our comma after our schema. What we're going to do next is hide column header to true. And it's not going to work yet. I'm pretty sure if you leave it like this, it doesn't work yet. Oh, it does. So there you go. So now we've hidden the column header. Simple command, right? And you can combine these things, right? So then we can also add back in. So now we've combined them. Now we've hid the sync button, and we also have hide column header. So let me just leave that with you here for today. We hid a lot of things in SharePoint. We kind of hid things with obscurity. So just remember that. Just because you hide things does not mean that it's secure. So if we go to something like Copilot, right? If we go to Copilot, what does hide by obscure security mean in SharePoint? Hide by obscurity means, making certain content harder to find rather than strictly securing it. So remember, that's what we're doing. This does not mean everything is secure. We're just making things obscure. We're making people happy at our business. We're not securing everything completely. For true security, it's better to rely on security side permissions, access to control management, certain content. This ensures authorization. So if you go to Power BI and you pull up, different views, different lists, there's a way to get to the back end and get that data. So we are hiding things by obscurity, and everything can be hidden. Don't believe online when you read that things cannot be hidden. It can all be hidden. It can all be gone, have a nice clean sheet of paper. Thank you all for watching. If you want to learn more, leave me a comment. Say, hey, we got to learn more. We got to learn more how you did this. I will do it for educational purposes only. This is not for you to do in production, and we can learn together. Thank you all for watching. My name is Andrew Hess, and I'll see you next time.